Thanks for tuning into this little painting video that took me like 5 years to make. I'll finally be answering the questions I received on my story post I put on Instagram while showing you the process of this painting that I've put off for a few months now. I finally got around to finishing it and recorded most of the process. So without further ado, I'll just jump right into the questions. Alright, so the first question is from the Ziva123 PP? Poo-poo. Angela Musings asks, how did you develop your style? I love it so much. Thank you, Angela. That really means a lot to me. I don't really know how my style developed. I guess it's really just kind of an unconscious way that I draw. As far as like developing my style, it's really just how comfortable I am drawing. Like, I just draw the way that I feel most comfortable. I don't really think too much about having it to look a certain way, if that makes sense. But a lot of it definitely comes from studying foundations, observational life drawings, and how I tend to draw what I see and how I tend to draw when practicing. So that kind of, I guess, slowly developed and showed its way through as I kept practicing. It turns into a lot of muscle memory, and with a lot of muscle memory, it's easier to kind of stylize and draw it in a way that is more simplified for me, and I guess in turn becomes my style. Created by Addie asks, how long have you been doing digital art? Ironically enough, I'm painting traditionally in this video, but as far as digital art, I started in high school. I think that's when, or maybe not high school, maybe like late middle school, but that was when I got my first Wacom tablet. It was like this old hand-me-down Wacom tablet that my mom had for like who knows how many years. But I remember using it a lot in high school. That's when I really got into like digital art. I used like Paint Tool Sci because I couldn't really afford or know how to use Photoshop. Yeah, I think that was when I started, which is like circa 2008, 2009. But I feel like I stopped learning like proper digital painting techniques until I got into college, because even in college I was actually taking a lot of traditional media classes, like traditional illustration and oil painting and stuff like that. But when I got into art center, I struggled a lot with digital painting. Like, my portfolio was actually mostly traditional media, so I didn't do actually a lot of digital art. So it's hard to say how long I've been doing it. I guess I started doing it in high school, but I never really like seriously continued or learned any like very special techniques until I got into art center or design school. So I guess you could say, like, if I had to put a hard number on it, 10 years or so. But I still struggle a lot with digital painting. I don't know how to use a lot of the tools, and I'm still learning how to do a lot of things. Like, I recently just discovered how to use blending modes and liquify, things that made my life so much easier, or would have made my life so much easier had I learned about it earlier. But yeah, it's a ongoing journey. Banana Fishy asks, what artists do you take inspiration from? I take inspiration from almost every artist that I follow on Instagram. There's just so much good content out there, and it's just such a great source of inspiration and sometimes intimidation. But if I had to name like a few artists that really inspire me and that I reference back to a lot and often would probably be the classic like J.C. Landecker or Norman Rockwell. Their paintings are just absolutely pure gold. I don't know how else to express my love for their work and my admiration and dream to paint like them. Jamie Hewlett is also one of my favorite artists, like ever, all-time favorite. To be fair, I'm also a really big fan of the Gorillas, so you know, it kind of goes hand in hand, but I just love the way he draws characters, like the shapes. I don't know how else to express my love for that. I just love shapes. And another artist that I reference back to a lot is Shinji Kimura, and he had done the illustrations for the Tekkan Concrete art book. I have all 3 of the art books, and I'm just always so inspired whenever I just flip through the pages, especially when I'm going through a really bad art block or if I'm just really burnt out. I always refer back to the Tekkan Concrete art books that I have, and I just sit there and absorb every single sketch and line that's in each of the pages. And yeah, it's just pure technical skill goals. Like I really wish to get on that level maybe one day. Okay, quick shout out to Studio Maggie. Thank you so much for asking me a bunch of questions to answer for this video. So here are a bunch of Megan's questions with other questions trickled in. So her first question, or I'm gonna answer 2 at a time. What's your favorite kind of thing to draw? And non-art related hobbies. So my favorite thing to draw, I think, is girls. I really like drawing girls. I think girls have really nice shapes. I really like drawing like characters and expressions and figures especially. But more recently I've been trying to like branch out just beyond like the typical posed figure. Lately I've been really into drawing fish and food, so expect a lot of those kinds of artworks in the very near future. And some non-art related hobbies include roller skating, figure skating, and archery. Oh, and pandemic baking. That's a recent hobby. She also asks, what's your favorite food and how do you feel about art school? Did you like your time there? Let's see, my favorite food, that's such a loaded question because I love all kinds of food. I guess, you know, a really simple answer would just be sushi, or a good genre of food would be like anything that's like medium rare and almost raw. So I really like your grass-fed hanger steak with fries and raw fish and salmon eggs and anything that can potentially get me food poisoning just because it's so delicious. I don't know, that's such a bad answer. But if I had to just pick one favorite food, it would just probably be, I guess, like Japanese izakaya food. I guess that's a really good kind of a all-around answer. That's such a long answer for such a simple question. Anyway, so how do I feel about art school and did I like my time there? Art school was a very difficult and pivotal time in my life. You know, it's a lot of work, it's a lot of sleepless hours, it's a lot of stress, it's a lot of second guessing yourself, but it was also like a really important moment in my life where I learned a lot about myself, what I liked and what I didn't like. It was a big moment of metamorphosis for Megan. But I liked my time there. I enjoyed my time there despite the hardships and stress. But I don't regret it. I think if I could do it over, I would do it again. I made some really, I don't know how to even describe this, like amazing friendships with people. I am really grateful and honored to be part of this community of artists, and it shaped a lot of my professional practices and how I approach design. So it definitely means a lot. Seji Bean asks, advice for starting freelance work? Also, what's your process and how do you find structure? I'm going to assume that the second part of the question, what's your process and how do you find structure, is in relation to freelance work. So I'm going to answer it in that form. Advice for starting freelance work. I personally am still fairly new to freelance work. I just graduated at the tail end of 2019 and then started working freelance at probably mid 2020 to late 2020. I think what's important to really know, as with most freelancers will probably tell you as well, is to really know your worth, know how much to charge, and be confident in that. Also, if you find yourself in a position where you get to determine the deadline, or if a client is asking you how long will it take you to do X project, give yourself ample amount of time. If you can do this said project in, let's say, like 2 days, I would double it and tell your client that it would take you about a week or so, something like that. Business days, because you want to give yourself ample time to work on something, you know, in case something goes awry, if there's notes that you need to cover, things like that. So just be aware of what you're capable of and your limitations. As far as process and structure, I don't really have a strict process since it varies project to project, but it generally starts with a lot of early communication with the client, understanding what they want in this project or what their outcome is, showing them any preliminary sketches before I go into like the final design. And then as far as like structure, it's a lot of like calendar organization. I use Notion to kind of keep a check and a to-do list. A lot of time managing skills are exercised here. Stuff like that. Any dream project or art piece thing you want to create one day? Yes. I've been going to a local ceramic studio recently and learning how to throw on the wheel, and it's been so much fun. I'm really excited to make functional tableware like teapots and cups, and seeing where else I can take this medium into as far as like other projects. I've always loved sculpting, and I find it kind of hard to sculpt at home with the materials and tools that I have, only because of the space and the mess it creates. But the ceramic studio has given me kind of like a outlet from my home, especially during like pandemic times, and also just like a chance to learn something new. And it's been really stress relieving, and I'm really inspired and excited to keep going on that ceramic journey. More Bread asks, favorite scenery to paint? I learned that I really like painting snowy scenery from when I did the Plein April painting challenge last year. And also any scenery that has like a lot of trees and good contrast. Did you go to art school, and least favorite candy and why? Yes, I did go to art school, and my least favorite candy is licorice because that stuff tastes like wax. I'm sorry to those who like licorice. I want to like it. It smells good, but I just can't get past the texture. Mandy asks, a melon ice cream bar or a chocolate ice cream bar? Ooh, I do like, especially the Korean one, the Melona bar, but I'll probably pick the chocolate ice cream bar just because I really like chocolate. And I'm also allergic to honeydew melon, but Melona is okay. Misha asks, controversial topic. What do you believe a sketchbook's purpose to be? I think a sketchbook has many purposes. I believe you can use it like a journal to jot down very personal thoughts and feelings in the form of sketches and drawings, or it can just be purely functional where you can do swatches, observational sketches and studies, and all that kind of research stuff. Tati asks, not art related, but how did you get into roller skating? And were you always the queen of primary colors? I am very flattered. I got into roller skating probably around 2018-ish. I've always been like inline skating and ice skating a lot, and I followed a lot of Instagram accounts that did a lot of figure skating. And occasionally when I would search the discovery page, Instagram kind of showed me artistic roller skating, and I thought, wow, okay, so it's the same moves, it's the same kind of techniques. I wonder if those skills can translate, because figure skating was really expensive and I didn't have access to go to a rink very often. So I thought, wow, if I can just practice like on wheels anywhere with like cement floors, like that would be ideal. So I started researching a little bit more into roller skating. And then I learned about Moxie roller skates, and then I learned about all of the cool skaters that are currently in the community today. I remember the moment that I purchased my roller skates for the first time, like so vividly. It was like sometime 2 a.m. in the morning, and I was watching this video of this skater just ripping it at Venice Beach skate park and just having so much fun zipping through the bowls, and I had never felt so inspired and excited about roller skating, even though I had like never quad roller skated before, but like my heart was pumping. I was so excited, like that looks like so much fun. I remember I bought the skates at like, I don't know, the next day, like right away on the internet, and then I just immediately fell in love from that moment on. Was I always the queen of primary colors? I honestly thought I was the slave of primary colors, just because I actually struggle a lot with color and color theory. I'm pretty sure I got a B in my color theory class. Like, I struggle so much with color, and even to this day, but one of the tricks that I learned was to just kind of stick to a more limited palette, and my limited palette is basically red, yellow, blue, just because then I have access to all of the colors. So I guess in that way I was able to conquer the primary colors. How do you balance making personal art with your art for your business Etsy? A lot of my personal art that I make, I end up just offering on Etsy, much like this tiger painting here I will have on my store April 5th. Just a quick little shameless plug. But I think I try not to force myself into any projects that I know I'm gonna get burnt out, or just projects that I'm not super convinced or jazzed about. I try to vary up the types of things that I want to offer in my Etsy, so I will usually just try to brainstorm a few new things that I would want to offer for the month, and then just kind of spend the other time in between on personal work, which I can then offer as a print if it looks good. Zenitherium asks, how do you come up with poses and composition? A lot of my poses come from just trying to create a very good silhouette. But a lot of the times I get inspiration from fashion photography. I'll study the shapes that the models kind of make with their bodies, and then I integrate it into my work. And then the last question is from my friend Harumi, aka Button Top. Once COVID is over, do you plan to sell your art at any events, conventions? Yes, I would love nothing more but to travel and sell at conventions. I've always wanted to. I always was a little too late to signing up for Artist Alley tables at the local conventions here in Los Angeles because they sell out so quickly. But hopefully this time around I'll be able to get a table as soon as they're available and as soon as conventions open up again. And that's it for the questions. Thank you so much for participating in this little video with me and submitting those questions. And I will catch you guys in the next video. Bye!